A single mom was asked to be his date at his ex's wedding. What he found out next left him in tears. But before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more powerful stories just like this one. Would you be my date? The words hung in the air, awkward and unexpected. Mason Halle, CEO of Halle Real Estate Group and one of the most sought-after bachelors in Manhattan, stood in the middle of a busy cafe staring at the single mom who just served him his coffee. Her apron was wrinkled, her ponytail messy, and her 6-hour shift wasn't even half over. She wiped her hands on a towel, trying to make sense of what he'd just asked. Ava Landry blinked, unsure if she'd heard him right. "Mason, I clean tables, not crash weddings," she said with a nervous laugh. He smiled gently. "I know, but I need someone real. Someone who doesn't care about status. Someone like you." Ava looked away. She knew who Mason was. Everyone did. Real estate mogul, tabloid favorite, ex-boyfriend of Charlotte de Vries, the Ariston fashion influencer whose wedding was 2 weeks away. The wedding of the year. And now, Mason was asking her Ava Landry, single mom, part-time waitress, and full-time survivor to be his +1. She folded her arms. "Why me?" He hesitated. "Because when you handed me that coffee 2 weeks ago, you didn't treat me like a billionaire. You treated me like a tired guy who needed caffeine." Ava raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly would I be walking into? That kind of money could fix her car, right? But I'm not playing arm candy. Pay off daycare, trust me, you won't have to. Even give her and Liam a little breathing room." White roses, harpists, and gold-trimmed name cards adorned the estate like it was plucked from a royal fantasy. He didn't sugarcoat it. "My ex is marrying my former business partner. The wedding will be a circus. Everyone who ever doubted me will be there. I need someone who isn't afraid to be seen beside me without trying to upstage the bride. I'll take that. I'll cover your shifts, get you a dress to babysitter for your son." He paused. "Powerful." Murmurs spread like wildfire. "Mason, this feels like a trap." Her hair curled and swept to one side. She'd walked into rooms before where everyone judged her: courtrooms, landlords' offices, who's that, her ex's family dinners. She knew how to stand tall. During cocktail hour, Mason introduced her around. Shimmered in the sunlight. Mason offered his arm, stunned for a moment. "What's your maiden name?" Darlie Ava bit her lip. Not a chance. Ava noticed an older woman watching her closely from across the aisle, stylish, stern, curious, standing beside a hospital crib labeled De Vries Memorial Pediatric Wing. "Let's give them something to talk about, it's not. You can say no, but if you say yes, Charlotte's aunt, Florence de Vries, old money royalty, doesn't miss anything." She hesitated. She sighed. "Still want to back out." He grinned. What Ava didn't know was that Mason had already heard something that changed everything. Something about her past. She said, lips tight, "You look so familiar. Have we met?" And this wedding was about to rewrite more than just reputations. The venue was an over-the-top Tuscan villa, imported stone by stone to the Hamptons. Ava stepped out of the black SUV in a deep navy gown, simple but elegant. "You look," she smirked. Guests turned as they entered. "Is that Mason's date? Who is she? She doesn't look like the usual crowd." Ava didn't flinch. They reached the garden where the ceremony would take place. At the front stood Charlotte, gorgeous, glowing, and visibly rattled by Mason's arrival. He leaned in. The editors, the snobs who tried to trip her up with passive remarks. Mason was impressed. As they found their seats, she whispered to Mason. He stiffened. The ceremony began, but Ava couldn't shake the feeling she was being studied. After the vows, Ava held her own, charming the CFOs, but then Florence approached her. "My dear," Ava's stomach flipped. She forced a smile. "I don't think so." Florence narrowed her eyes. Michael's Ava lied quickly. Florence held her gaze for a beat too long. "Interesting," and walked away. Mason noticed her shaking. "You okay?" Ava whispered. "I think she knows. Or suspects." Mason looked confused. "Knows what?" Ava opened her clutch and handed him a folded photo, faded, worn. It showed a younger Ava. "I used to be Charlotte's nanny." Mason blinked. "And Liam?" Ava continued, voice trembling. "He's not just my son. He's also Charlotte's half-brother." Mason stood frozen. "What do you mean he's her half-brother?" Ava pulled him aside into a quiet hallway, away from the glittering guests. "I never meant to bring this here. You asked me to be your date, and I thought maybe I could just walk in, walk out, and never open that chapter again. But you did," Mason said quietly. Ava nodded. "I was Charlotte's nanny. Her father, Richard de Vries, was kind to me. Too kind, and she's never going to. That family has buried enough secrets. I just want to protect my son. When I turned 21, I got pregnant. He denied everything. I lost the job, the reputation. I raised Liam on my own. Does Charlotte know? No de Vries money. No lawyers. Nothing." Mason ran a hand through his hair. "No," Ava said. Silence fell. Then came a voice from the shadows. "You should have stayed away." They turned. Florence de Vries stood there, holding a copy of the same photo Ava had in her clutch. "Or your scandal. I came here to help Mason." "I remember that day," she said coldly. "You always were the quiet one. But now I see what this is: extortion, a wedding stunt. He's the only decent thing Richard ever left behind. Ava stepped forward, calm but defiant. I don't want your money. You walked in holding more pain than I ever realized, and you still stood tall. Florence's lips curled. You're a mistake my brother made. One will make disappear again if needed. But Mason stepped between them. You're not threatening her. He's never had a real father figure. Florence scoffed. You have no idea what's at stake. Neither do you, Mason said. Because that boy, he's not a threat to your legacy. Florence stared at Mason, then Ava, then turned and walked away. Later that night, when the fireworks lit up the sky and guests cheered for the newlyweds, Mason and Ava slipped away. They didn't speak for a long time. Then Mason said quietly, I asked you to come because I thought I was protecting myself from embarrassment. Ava looked at him. Do you still want to walk away with no strings? Mason reached for her hand. I want to walk toward whatever this is. With strings. With truth. With Liam. Ava's eyes filled. Mason smiled gently. Maybe it's time he did. 2 days after the wedding, Ava was back in her usual clothes: jeans, sneakers, hair tied up in a messy banaz. She cleaned up spilled milk at the cafe. It was like Cinderella after midnight. The gown was back in its box. The limo was gone. The whispers and rumors very much alive. Her phone buzzed. I used to pretend I could climb walls too. Mason holla, you free tonight? Ava watched quietly, her emotions caught between hope and caution. She hesitated then. Ava, only after 7. I don't care about the De Vries. I care about you. About him. Mason, bring him. I want to meet him properly. Then let's control the story before someone else does. Her heart skipped. Mason showed up in a modest SUV, no showy car, no flashy watch, just a man in a gray hoodie, standing on the sidewalk with 2 milkshakes in hand. Liam, age 6, peeked nervously from behind Ava's leg. Hey buddy. Mason smiled, crouching down. I heard you like chocolate. Liam nodded. Mason offered him the milkshake. Cool shirt, he added, pointing at Liam's Spider-Man tee. Liam giggled. Later, they sat at a playground bench while Liam ran across the monkey bars. I meant it, Mason said. I want to be in his life. Work is forgotten by the system. But you've got the story. The voice. Ava looked down. You know that if his name gets out, it'll be everywhere. The media, the lawyers. Charlotte. Mason nodded. Ava bit her lip. He handed her a file. Legal documents, DNA tests, a trust fund proposal. With her name? And Liam's. Mason, it's not charity, it's security. And a promise. She shook her head. I don't want your money. Then take my partnership. Come work with me. She blinked in. What? Helping women like you. Single moms. Ava looked up at him. This wasn't just a date anymore. It was a door. And behind it a future no one saw coming. 3 weeks later, a glossy tabloid cover hit the stands. Mason Hale's new family. Who is this single mom turned powerhouse? Inside was a full spread. Ava, in her navy dress. Liam on Mason's shoulders. A quote from an unnamed wedding guest claiming Ava used the event to leverage her status. The public had questions. The De Vries had lawyers, but Ava had something stronger: truth. She released a video statement. Just her, on a simple stool. No tears, no drama. And I didn't chase a billionaire. I raised a child, alone, with dignity. I didn't crash the wedding, I was invited, and if being a mother disqualifies me from respect, then maybe we need to redefine what respectable even means. She paused. My son is not a scandal, he's a person. The video went viral. Mothers from around the world flooded the comments. You speak for all of us. She's a hero. This woman is exactly what we need more of. Meanwhile, Florence De Vries was busy trying to scrub every trace of the nanny scandal from the internet, but Charlotte, she did something no one expected. She called Ava. He did this to you, to us, and I'm sorry. I know the truth now, she said, voice shaking. Ava didn't know what to say. You raised my brother in the shadows. That takes strength I've never known. Charlotte continued. I've spent my whole life being protected. Your pause. If you're open to it, I'd like to meet him as his sister, not as De Vries. Ava exhaled. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was the beginning of something that looked a little like family. With the public on Ava's side and Charlotte privately reconciling, Mason made his next move. He invited Ava to a roundtable event, an annual summit on housing reform he usually hosted alone. And in that time I saw more broken systems than you can fix with money. What we need is policy that listens, not just pays. But this time, Ava took the stage. I registered a foundation in your name, the Ava Project. It's yours to lead. I spent 5 years living in government housing, she told the room. Her speech earned a standing ovation. Reporters surrounded her, investors approached her. She wasn't just Mason's date anymore. She was a movement. That night, Mason handed her a key. To what? She asked. Mommy, look, it's a tiny house. The office next to mine. He smiled. She stared at the gold lettering on the plaque. Ava Landry, Executive Director, Equity and Empowerment Division. She didn't cry, she simply nodded. I'll need a staff. Already assembled, he said, starting with single parents, veterans, and survivors like you. Liam ran up with a Lego in his hand. Ava knelt down. That's right, baby. And one day, we're going to help build real ones. Mason crouched beside them. You ready for this? Ava looked between her son and the man who once offered her a one-time deal and gave her an open door instead. Ready? She smiled. I was born for this. Florence DeVries sat in her sunroom reading the morning paper when the headline made her drop her teacup. Ava Landry to head National Housing Task Force. She blinked. Read again. Ava, the girl she once tried to erase, now leading national reform. The phone rang. It was her brother's estate lawyer. Miss DeVries, a previously sealed document has been released per Richard's final instructions. Florence frowned. What kind of document? A revised will. It names a beneficiary for a trust intended for any acknowledged offspring, and it names Liam Landry. Florence gripped the table. He knew, she whispered. And today we see millions of families who were invisible yesterday. Yes, ma'am, the lawyer replied. He knew. Florence hung up and stared at the ceiling. The empire she'd tried to protect now had a new heir, and it wasn't a DeVries by name. It was a Landry by love. 6 months later, Ava stood at a podium in D.C., Liam watching proudly from the front row beside Mason. She spoke to senators, CEOs, and citizens. Success doesn't begin with opportunity. It begins with being seen, heard, respected. Cameras flashed. Applause thundered. Backstage, Mason took her hand. Still want to walk away with no strings? He teased. She grinned. Too late. We're all tangled up now. He pulled her close, and just before the next speaker went on stage, he whispered, I've got one more question. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Ava gasped, but before she could answer, Liam's voice shouted from the audience, Say yes, Mommy. The crowd laughed, and Ava, she turned toward the boy who made her brave, and the man who saw her before the world did. She whispered, yeah, not just to Mason, but to the life they were building, the love that refused to be erased, and the power of a woman who stopped being invisible.